If you're dealing with SIBO, I have a SIBO fix that I need to share with you. The reason I feel like it's so important to share this with you is it's going to completely change your understanding of SIBO, and there's a good portion of people watching this video that will be able to just follow one or two very quick, simple steps and find a complete and total resolution from their SIBO, and the remaining individuals will understand why SIBO is a little bit more of an intricate and nuanced type of health issue to be facing, and it's going to help them understand why the healing timeline might look a little bit longer than it does for some people, but it's going to help you soften into this process so that you can feel more confident and have a little bit more patience as your body works to heal this issue for you. So everything I'm going to share with you today comes from a very astute level of clarity that I was able to develop about SIBO from working on it both in myself and with many other individuals. And this understanding is that SIBO is almost always an adaptive response. If you could just take that away from today's video, it will change your whole life. It will change how you approach SIBO. It will change your whole understanding about digestive health. Because I understand that we're in a world right now where we're looking at, wow, the microbiome causes so many different things. The microbiome can affect leaky gut. It can cause autoimmune problems. It can cause chronic fatigue syndrome. If we're missing diversity in the gut, we're more likely to have heart disease, Alzheimer's, chronic fatigue syndrome, basically every single nasty health condition that you could probably ever imagine, and especially those ones that you would really choose to not have if you could have a choice in it. They're all directly connected to your gut and specifically your microbiome composition. And you hear all of this, and then you learn about SIBO, and you hear this idea that there's an overgrowth of certain organisms in the small intestine, and you just want to kill it because the SIBO is causing histamine intolerance, and it's causing chronic fatigue syndrome, and it's causing endotoxin exposure, and it's causing all of these different things. But the problem here is that we're looking at gut and we're looking at SIBO as the cause of all of these problems. But then we're not asking the question, what is causing the SIBO? And we're directly trying to attack the SIBO as if the SIBO is the problem because SIBO causes all of these other issues. But we're not seeing that something actually causes SIBO. The whole concept of root cause is that we have to keep tracing this problem back up until its source. We have to find, where does this problem originate? And sure, looking at your gut, looking at SIBO and seeing, oh, instead of treating my histamine intolerance with like an antihistamine medication, I'm going to take it one step further up and I'm going to try and fix my gut because my gut is what's causing the histamine problems. That's really good. We're going one step in the right direction, but we haven't traced it all the way back to source. We need to come back to what is causing the SIBO in the first place. And this is where this understanding that SIBO is an adaptive response comes in. Because if you want to develop a truly holistic understanding of how healing works, and this is what you're actually looking for if you want to heal without drugs. This is what you're looking for if you want to understand this mind-body connection, if you're interested in nervous system work or trauma or any of these things. What you're looking for is a truly holistic understanding of healing and how the body works. So when we're looking at SIBO, we have to trace it back to its cause. This is where we get the first golden nugget, where probably half the people watching this video are going to find a resolution from their SIBO without killing it, without even doing anything to directly try to influence the microbiome at all. And that might sound completely unbelievable to you, but I've seen it over and over again. I have the experience here. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it in dozens of other individuals as well. And it makes a lot of sense because, again, if you understand that SIBO is not a cause, it's an effect, it's not really that hard to understand that if we fix the cause, then the effect goes away. So the biggest cause for most people is that there's some digestive machinery missing or dysfunctional in their body. So here's why this is really important. Let's say, for example, you consume a meal that has rice, some kind of starchy carbohydrate, and meat, like let's say chicken, for example. If your meal has these two components, your body needs to digest all of it. It needs to digest the chicken and it needs to digest the rice. And if it isn't able to digest either or both of these things, there's going to be a very negative consequence. If your body can't digest the chicken, then what's going to end up happening is this protein is going to start to break down into some very toxic compounds. Things like putrescine and cadaverine. Now, these substances, you can hear how disgusting they sound. Putrescine comes from putrefying material, things that are rotting. And cadaverine, they discovered this in cadavers. So these are like dead bodies. So if your body can't digest that chicken breast, it's going to produce putrescine, cadaverine, and a bunch of other really toxic compounds. And these things are very dangerous. These are cancer-causing, these are carcinogenic, these are toxins. These are really bad for your body. So your body does not want this to happen. And on the other side, we've got these starchy carbohydrates. If these aren't digested correctly, we're not going to make anything so bad as putrescine and cadaverine. But these are basically going to end up acting like fibers, but not just your regular fiber. These are like rocket fuel fibers, especially for pathogenic and dysbiotic organisms. Things like Candida and Klebsiella and Clostridia and all of these organisms that love to eat refined carbohydrates. So if we eat these two things together and your body cannot digest them both, it will try its best to digest at least one of them. So in this case, the body will always choose protein because it does not want putrescine and cadaverine and all of these other toxic compounds. It will always try to prioritize the protein because the negative consequence is so much more severe. So all of these starchy carbohydrates, they go undigested. And what happens? They feed your gut bacteria. And in feeding them, you're going to get all of this growth, this proliferation of organisms in your small intestine, which is where this starchy carbohydrate is supposed to be broken down, digested and absorbed. But instead, it's going to feed dysbiotic organisms. It's going to produce histamine. It's going to produce potentially things like aldehydes, even alcohol. There's something called autobrewery syndrome, which is where you eat carbohydrates and because you can't digest them, yeasts are fermenting them and turning them into alcohol. I've even seen a video where someone gets breathalyzed. They get pulled over for drunk driving. They hadn't drunk any alcohol at all, but they produced it all in their gut from this autobrewery syndrome. So eating food that you can't digest is a recipe for SIBO. This is what causes it for most people. So we need to really take a look at the digestive machinery. We need to understand how the digestive system works, because I've just highlighted two aspects here. We've looked at protein digestion, which is primarily a stomach acid function, and we looked at starchy carbohydrate digestion, which actually requires two functions. It's pancreatic enzymes, so it's things like amylase to start breaking that down. And then we also need brush border enzyme function. This is a part of your small intestine. This is where we produce things like DAO and maltase. And these are how we break down histamine and the last stage of starchy carbohydrates. So if either one of those is damaged, you're not going to digest those starchy carbohydrates. So instead of just trying to kill the bacteria that are eating the food in the gut, we need to understand, why is there food in there in the first place that isn't fully broken down, digested, and in an absorbable state? And for the majority of people, I'd say like 50 to 60%, you fix this problem and the SIBO goes away forever. We don't have time to go into these specific digestive functions today. However, I do have a course that walks you through all of them. It walks you through the 5 functions of the digestive system: stomach acid, digestive enzymes, bile, motility, and mucosa. It walks you through what they are, how they work, what is their function, what happens when they aren't working correctly, and how do we fix them. It's a step-by-step guide, and it's a part of our gut health bundle. So if you're interested, you can go and take a look at that. I will say that the information in this bundle is available on the internet for free. I didn't study this in a school. This isn't something that I paid like tens of thousands to learn. This is something I picked up from doing my own research on the internet. So if you can't afford it, you can go and find all of this information completely for free. But what I will tell you is I've handpicked the best information and packaged it in a very deliverable and easy to digest format. And the way that I see it, the information in this course is the foundation of information that you need to heal digestive health problem. If you're going to try and heal your gut without knowing the stuff that's included in this bundle, it's literally like trying to drive a car blind. Like, how well do you think that's going to go? It's going to be an absolute disaster. So as I said, you can find that information for free on the internet if you're willing to do the research. But the reason we charge for it and the reason we put the bundle together was to just get all of this juicy stuff and put it together in one place so that you can access it very easily. So for the remainder, the other 40 or 50% of people that have completely corrected their digestive dysfunctions and the SIBO is still persisting, we have to ask the question again, how is this an adaptive response? Because the digestive dysfunction is the first layer of this adaptive response puzzle, but there's a second layer as well. Now, there's no way I could go through every single adaptive response that exists as to why SIBO could be in your body and trying to help your body. But what I can do is we can look at the most common. So I would say at the top of the list, if it's not a digestive dysfunction, the most common adaptive response is that the body has accumulated some type of toxicity, and the SIBO is attempting to help the body with removing this toxicity. In my mind, this is a really easy concept to understand because you just look at things like waste treatment plants and how they actually work. They're literally just full of bacteria. They will take different bacteria that do different things and they break down these different types of toxic compounds. And it's all about creating an environment and making sure that the right microbes are there to facilitate this breakdown. They can break down toxic metals, they can break down pesticides. We're even now seeing that we can break down a lot of the plastics that we produce with certain types of bacteria. I even saw this, honestly, absolutely amazing piece of information that there are certain types of yeasts and molds that are growing around Chernobyl, where we had this nuclear reactor. So there's a lot of radiation, and these organisms are actually thriving in this environment and they're eating this radiation and they're breaking it down. How insane is that? That is just absolutely, in my mind, that is just amazing. So it shows you that these tiny organisms, these little bugs, these little bacteria, these yeasts, these are nature's cleaners. These organisms come in to break things down that aren't supposed to be there anymore. And if your body is full of toxic compounds, again, this could be heavy metals, this can be mycotoxins, this can be plastics and pesticides. We live in a heavily polluted world now. If you've been exposed to any type of toxicity and it's accumulated in your body, it's very common for SIBO or SIFO or gut dysbiosis presentations to develop as an adaptive response to help the body clear toxicity. And what's really important to remember here is, if this is you, you can take antibiotics. You can kill your SIBO as much as you want and it will always come back. This is because it is adaptive. Your body needs SIBO to be able to fix a bigger problem. Yes, SIBO is an issue. It can cause histamine intolerance. It causes bloating and gas. Doesn't feel good. And it can affect your digestion and create nutritional deficiencies and does create a lot of problems. However, staying full of these toxins creates such more significant problems. This is multisystemic collapse. This is multiple sclerosis. This is cancer. This is chronic fatigue syndrome. This is a full immune system shutdown. These things are category 10 problems. And the body sometimes will adapt by creating a category 4 problem, let's say like a SIBO, category 4 problem, as an adaptive response to try to help it clear this category 10 problem. And again, if you go in and you try to kill it, if you try to disable that adaptive response, you will feel worse. Bigger problems will happen, and eventually the SIBO will come back because your body needs it. It's part of your healing mechanism. Other than this chronic toxicity component, the other cause that is really noteworthy when we're looking at a chronic SIBO situation, and we've already addressed this detoxification component, and we've also already addressed this digestive dysfunction component, is that the microbiome diversity has been lost. The way that I would think about this is to imagine that your microbiome is like an organ. And it literally is, because if you sterilize the gut of a mouse, it will die. It needs microbes to survive. So your gut flora is basically an organ. Imagine if you have an organ that is not healthy, if it isn't able to do all of the function that it's supposed to do. This is exactly what happens when your microbiome diversity is lost. We're supposed to have thousands of different types of organisms in our gut. And what you will see, and again, you can go and look at the data, there are plenty of studies on this. You are far more likely to develop severe chronic health problems if you have reduced diversity in your microbiome. One of the most well-studied and well-documented places for this is chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. You will see over and over and over again people that have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, and I know this because I had chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. You will look at their gut and you will see that their microbiome diversity is terrible. It's really poor. And this is usually due to an overuse of antibiotics, toxic and chemical exposures in the environment, and there can be a lot of other factors in there as well, but it's mostly those two. So if this is the case, SIBO is actually a symptom of imbalance. It's a consequence of imbalance. And what would the traditional approach have you do? Oh no, we have imbalance. We're lacking diversity. Let's kill it and reduce the diversity even more. And imagine what's going to happen if you do that. It makes everything worse. You're actually amplifying the problem. So the solution here is actually to diversify the microbiome. And here's where I'm going to give you a suggestion that goes against everything you've ever heard. We solve SIBO in this situation with probiotics, prebiotics, and microbiome interventions to increase diversity. Now, I know that goes against probably everything you've ever heard about SIBO. They tell you you need to be low FODMAP. You need to avoid these fibers that feed the gut bugs. You cannot take probiotics. Fermented foods? Absolutely not. Funny thing is, that's exactly where the solution is found. Because if you're missing diversity, the only way that we can increase that diversity is by, one, diversifying your diet. We need as many different polyphenols, as many different fibers, as many different prebiotics as you're able to tolerate. And we need to try to reintroduce as much microbial diversity into your gut as possible. So this is all of the different varieties of fermented food that you're able to tolerate. This is high strength, multi-strain probiotics. This is all of the things that you've been told that you should not do. But I hope that having explained this process to you, you can understand why these are the things that actually make sense. These are the things that are actually the solution. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I feel like this has been a very nice, concise video that hopefully gives you the gift of knowledge that you need to resolve SIBO, if it's something that you're dealing with or something that one of your family members or friends is dealing with. So if you want to learn more, you can take a look at that course. You can find it on my website, williamdickinson.co.uk. We'll probably stick a link to it down below somewhere. It's called the Gut Health Bundle. That's what you want to keep an eye out for. And if you're looking for some more free information, why don't you check out our gut health playlist? We've got about 10 other videos talking about SIBO. So again, I'll either stick that down there or put it up here somewhere. There will be a way for you to find it. Or you can just open your search bar and search William Dickinson SIBO, and I'm sure you'll find something. And as always, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. If this kind of approach has worked for you, please let me know as well. It'd be really interesting for other people watching the video to hear about how this has worked for you. So that's everything from me. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.